Well, this was the first time I went to TESOL, and I was not really super excited about the going, but I really enjoyed it, and there were a lot of great sessions. One that I enjoyed a lot was about building plagiarism prevention into your writing course.
Oh, yeah,
And I think a lot of it is stuff that we're already doing or trying to do.
Yeah.
But the one thing that was really interesting about this presentation was how much of the activities were done in class.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, you know, part of it is a time issue. When I'm teaching anyway, I feel like there's never enough time to quite get it.
Yeah.
And especially if it's a last minute class assignment, you know, schedule changes at the last minute. But she had three major steps to her program, and she focused on preventing rather than catching it after the fact. And there's research that shows that if students are informed about it, then they are less likely to cheat. That doesn't mean it's eliminated,
Right.
but it does help. And so the three steps she had were building awareness, building skills, and building collaboration. And there's a lot of time that's spent in class on each of those. And so building skills, it's basically, you know, looking at different examples and picking out specific things, why this is plagiarism, you know, what a good paraphrase or what a good summary looks like. And I think that's something we all do. But just looking at several different examples of that. And then building skills and collaboration, they're kind of together because they have a research project, but before they do that, they have a debate. And she assigns the groups and assigns them a particular side in the debate. And then they work in class in their groups. And they have to come up with what type of supporting evidence they would like to find. So they identify keywords and they identify what information they hope to find. And then they have one laptop per group, and they work in class with library databases online looking for information. And so you can't invent it or copy it or whatever because it's right there. And then as a group, they work with the citations and the paraphrases and summaries. So I didn't get a chance to find out how much class time she actually spends on that, but I think it is a really good investment in terms of if they really get the skills, because you get the handout with the examples and then you get the assignment that is totally unlike what you're asking them to be done. And then for the actual research paper, they do a similar thing where they work in class. The students provide a detailed outline that has for each supporting point, it has the supporting evidence that they're going to use with their paraphrase or summary and the citation. And so they do a peer review with that before the paper is even written. And of course it may change in the final draft, but then, you know, you're looking at the summary and giving feedback on it. So I really thought that was useful. So I'd be happy to chat with other people who are teaching that kind of thing. And I haven't taught writing recently, but it's
I could have used that.
those skills.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, those skills are so hard to develop. So anyway, I really enjoyed that one. And I went to some other things on vocabulary, and if I could remember the numbers. Just basic numbers on like how many words do we need to know, and measuring how many words you do know, who knows how to do that. But from a presentation that Keith Folse gave, he said that the average native speaker, you know, I don't know what other term to use, knows about 20,000 word families. So 20,000. And then for language learners, to maintain a conversation, you need about 2,000. And that's from research by Schmidt in 2000. To read authentic texts of just a general nature, you need 5,000 words. But to read academic texts, you need 10,000 words. So if you think about that, that 10,000 words is still half the number of word families that
native speakers know.
Right. Yeah.
And these are all kinds of words. They don't distinguish between content or function.
Right. Yeah, it's all kinds of words. So I don't know what to do with that, but it's just interesting and maybe encouraging or challenging to students to say, look, you really do have to know this many words.
Yeah.
I don't know. And another thing that he mentioned in there was, in that presentation, was that really vocabulary is something you should do in every class.
Yes.
And teaching and testing it. I mean, and that and he spent a lot of time on talking about how to test or work where it's not creating a lot of grading for the teacher and where it really doesn't interrupt the flow of class. But, so by test, I don't say a big formal assessment, but, you know, working somehow to gauge learning. And he said in every class, speaking class, listening class, grammar class, writing class. And I know that our students don't always appreciate vocabulary instruction.
Which is surprising.
Well, which is actually
They don't
the
know how to learn it, that's
which
the
is
problem.
interesting because it's the opposite of what he said.
Yeah.
He said you teach vocabulary and they'll love it because they'll say I've learned these words. It's something very tangible they can hold on to.
She's an
And
enthusiastic
so,
Who
I
makes
don't
a
know,
lot of
I
money
don't
off
know
of telling you stuff like that.
how we're not doing that right. But I mean, it's encouraging at least to hear that even if they're not appreciating it, it is really something that they do need.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
You can tell them that.
Yeah.
I like it. I feel like these are good numbers to bring into the
I
conversation.
don't know how to.
Well, scare tactic, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah. Here's how many
Yeah.
words you don't know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just really intimidate them.
And then just one other thing that came out of that presentation is he was talking about language learning and process, and he used the metaphor of a dimmer switch, which I liked because, you know, as teachers we would like to teach something and then the light comes on and it's finished, right? We know the past tense or we know anything. But really, it's such a complicated process, you know, and everybody's mind is so different and our experiences are different, and it's, so maybe just step back from that. And the other thing along with that, he said several times, it's not my problem. What, not that as teachers we don't have a great responsibility, but that there is a point at which the students do have to take responsibility for their learning. And so, one, we can't control that process, the learning process. It is that, you know, dimmer switch brain thing. And if Ellen were here, she could tell us more about the brain.
Yeah.
She wasn't able to join us. So the dimmer switch, and that, you know, we can do what we can, but it is their mind and their deal. Yeah. So that's what I got mostly.
Yeah. That's really cool. I think it's good to remind them of that too, though, that it's ultimately up to them.
Yeah.
I usually say that on the first day of class. I am not a magician. I
Yeah.
can't stand over you and magically
Yeah.
give you English,
Yeah.
which I think is what people
Right.
think.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you have
Yeah.
to do the work.
Well, and I, from doing new student interviews with students, you know, we talk about the American academic expectations and their expectations. And it seems like a lot of them, you know, see asking questions as disrespectful, or, you know, the teacher's responsibility is to give everything, and the student's responsibility is just to
Just
get
take
it.
it in.
And so I think they really see the teacher as the responsible party for giving everything.
Right.
Uh,
But sometimes because they come from this culture, they appreciate ours a little bit.
Oh, yeah, definitely,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure, yeah,
Yeah,
a lot
there's
of them
that
do
too.
say that, but it's hard to make that switch, even
Yeah,
once you
it is.
realize that there's a difference.
Yeah. It is.
Engaging in a different type of learning is hard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very hard.